still a good deal of sunlight about, soft, slanting sunlight, with the quality that goes with light that has been about for the whole day, and is now comfortable, used. The coincidence was that Jamie should suddenly broach the subject of what it must be like to feel thoroughly ashamed of oneself. Later on, she asked herself why he had suddenly decided to talk about that. Had he seen something on the meadow to trigger such a line of thought? Strange things were no doubt done in parks by shameless people, but hardly in the early evening, in full view of passers-by, on an evening such as this. Had he seen some shameless piece of exhibitionism? She had read recently of a Catholic priest who went jogging in the nude, and explained that he did so on the grounds that he sweated profusely when he took exercise. Indeed, for such a person it might be more convenient not to be clad. But this was not Sparta, where athletes disported naked in the palestra. This was Scotland, where it was simply too cold to do as in Sparta, no matter how classically minded one might be. Whatever it was that prompted Jamie, he suddenly remarked, "What would it be like not to be able to go out in case people recognized you? What if you'd done something so appalling that you couldn't face people?" Isabel glanced at him. "You haven't, have you?" He smiled. "Not yet." She looked up at the skyline, at the conical towers of the old infirmary, at the crouching lion of Arthur's Seat in the distance, beyond a line of trees. "Some who have done dreadful things don't feel it at all," she said. "They have no sense of shame. And maybe that's why they did it in the first place. They don't care what others think of them." Jamie thought about this for a moment. "But there are plenty of others, aren't there? People who have done something out of character. People who have a conscience, and who yet suddenly have given in to passing temptation, some dark urge. They must feel ashamed of themselves, don't you think?" Isabel agreed. "Yes, they must. And I feel so sorry for them." It had always struck her as wrong that we should judge ourselves, or more usually others, by single acts, as if a single snapshot said anything about what a person had been like over the whole course of his life. It could say something, of course, but only if it was typical of how that person behaved. Otherwise, no. All it said was that at that moment, in those particular circumstances, temptation won a local victory. They walked on in silence. Then Isabel said, "And what about being made to feel ashamed of what you are? About being who you are?" "But do people feel that?" Isabel thought that they did. "Plenty of people feel ashamed of being poor," she said. "They shouldn't, but many do. Then some feel ashamed of being a different colour from those around them. Again, they shouldn't. And others feel ashamed of not being beautiful, of having the wrong sort of chin, of having the wrong number of chins. All of these things." "It's ridiculous." "Of course it is." Jamie, she realized, could say that. The blessed do not care from what angle they are regarded, as She stopped herself, and thought instead of moral progress, of how much worse it had been only a few decades ago. Things had changed for the better. Now people asserted their identities with pride. They would not be cowed into shame. Yet so many lives had been wasted, had been ruined, because of unnecessary shame. She remembered a friend's mother who had discovered at the age of 12 that she was illegitimate, that the father, who had been said to have been killed in an accident, was simply not there, a passing, regretted dalliance that had resulted in her birth. Today that meant very little when vast cohorts of children sprang forth from maternity hospitals without fathers who had signed up to anything. But for that woman, Isabel had been told, the rest of her life, from 12 onwards, was to be spent in shame. And with that shame there came the fear that others would find out about her illegitimacy, would stumble upon her secret. Stolen lives, Isabel thought.